Look, moving too bossy.
It is the A Train Sports Talk podcast, and sometimes technology it can be your best friend or it could be your worst enemy. So in this case, we're going to try to snake around the fact that technology is not being our enemy, which means I'm multi and probably triple tasking because I was supposed to have a camera guest on, but things happen that it's not supposed to happen, and what's supposed to happen, we just gonna make things happen. I told y'all yesterday when I did my show that I was gonna have a guest on, and I'm gonna have a guest on. And some of y'all probably see the headlines because we are streaming live on Twitch.tv, and we're also streaming on YouTube. So my next guest, he really needs no introduction because he has made himself known, and I'm hoping as I just plugged in, I hope he can hear me. Yes, I do hear some background. He is the coach at Olathe North, but his season doesn't stop there, and I'm pretty sure he is on the weekend trail because he's also I don't know if you want to call it AAU club basketball travel team. I know they travel a lot.
Mhm.
So this man has more energy than the Energizer Bunny with fully loaded Energizer batteries. I'm talking about a young man I had a chance to finally get to meet in person at Coke Arena because his team played in the state tournament. None other than my good friend and my brother. And I have to say like this. I thought he was a pastor when I called because he had that voice sound. None other than Coach Alonzo Zoe Williams. Welcome to the train ride, sir.
How you doing, sir? So happy to, be on the show. Be on the show.
I am happy to have you on here because I somewhat followed you. I've seen your Twitter account. Yeah, I still call it Twitter. I mean, the politically correct people might frown at that, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
I'm
it is.
we probably from the same neck of the woods. When we seen the movie Coming to America, and they was talking about boxing, they kept saying Muhammad Ali, and the guy said, "Well, his mama named him Clay, so I'm gonna call him Clay." So we grew up calling it Twitter, so I'm gonna call it Twitter. But coach,
Yes, sir.
so normally I have these long introductions, because I pulled up some bio. I didn't pull up nothing, so we're almost pretty much going from scratch. The intro that I gave you is all that I know. So this is going to be the moment you get to tell everybody that's listening to the podcast, watching me on the video stream, you get to tell everybody about your life story as it pertains to basketball. Matter of fact, I had Robert Kelly on Prep Girls Hoop, and he threw a question out. So we'll get to his question a little bit later. But coach, tell us a little bit about what it is that got you involved in the game of basketball.
Well, it started from a young kid, man. Um, played through elementary, junior high, and high school, a little college ball as well. Just growing up in the '90s, man. Growing up in the '80s and '90s, man. If you played basketball, it wasn't much travel ball like it is now. You did a lot of one-on-one by yourself, and you was the basketball player, the commentator, the referee, the opponent, and everything. But we basketball was introduced to me at a young age, man, and I fell in love with it, and it just kind of took off from there after I played, and like I said, high school basketball and played college basketball, and then got into coaching later on in my life.
All right. And you got into the coaching scene now. Have you always been connected to the girls' game, or did you double with the boys' game? What was it that led you in the direction of coaching girls basketball?
Well, the funny thing was my daughter had turned 4, almost 5 or whatever, and I have 2 sons who I coached before, and when they're older boys, and I kind of coached them, always worked them out, but never really took it 100% serious. And then my daughter decided she wanted to play, so I put a little YMCA team together, and that was the first team we coached on the girls. And then after that season, I didn't coach her again. I didn't coach her again for years, and so I had a couple of boys teams after that, and then in 2000, would it be 2016, maybe 2016, my good buddy Nick Bradford took the coaching job at Olathe North and gave me a call and asked that I want to be an assistant coach, and I wasn't doing anything, and so I just took on the assistant coach, and that was my first really, interaction being a girls coach on that at that level. And then, the AAU season rolled around. I was just sitting down, just kind of watching my daughter try out, and they asked me to, man a basket, and from manning a basket with Phenom to coaching about 3 teams that summer. So that's kind of where it really took off. I'd already been training kids anyway, if that's what you want to call it, training. But we were working kids out and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really where it kind of began.
Now, you mentioned the name, and the name sounds familiar. You mentioned Nick Bradford. Now, if I'm correct, wasn't he a KU basketball player one time?
Absolutely, yes. We actually are the same age, and he played at KU from '96 to 2000. He's from Arkansas now. He's the uh, assistant coach at University of Arkansas on the girls basketball team. One of my best friends.
Okay. Now, tell me a little bit about this league that y'all play in as far as Olathe North, and we'll get to the travel stuff because uh, and now the league just slipped my memory, but I know there's some stiff competition in that league. And the reason I asked that question because by you coaching a regular high school team and also doing the AAU thing or the travel thing, however the correct terminology, is there a difference in coaching philosophy? Because with high school basketball, it seems like it's a little bit more structured. You have your players around there for a couple of years. Where does the difference come with the coaching philosophy between high school and AAU?
Well, I always say that coaching travel ball and coaching, high level high school basketball. So there's just a difference. I think that high school basketball really prepares you for the team aspect and the organization aspect of basketball for college. And I believe that the travel ball AAU side gets you the exposure to get yourself to college. Um, I mean, there's some similarities in the coaching style, but with high school, you kind of have to adapt to the talent that you're given from year to year. You don't really know what you're going to get from year to year in high school. And when travel ball, you probably got 8 or 9 kids that can really play. Maybe the best players on their team, so you play a little bit different. Um, what One of the things that I do love about our high school, we play in the Sunflower League, um, one of the biggest leagues in the state in the 6A side. Um, and night in, night out, it's a battle. I think we have some of the best coaches in the state. Maybe I'm being a little bit biased, but um, when you look at the scope of the state tournament this year, three Sunflower League teams were represented. Matter of fact, the first game I played was against the Sunflower League foe. So you got to be ready. There's always a good player on one of the teams, so you have to be ready night in and night out for what they're gonna do to your player or what you're gonna do to their player. But I do wish that the high school coaches and the summer league coaches, the AAU coaches would connect a little bit better, so there could be a better connection with both, because really they genuinely both work hand in hand with getting these kids ready for the next level.
All right. And I have to say that if I wasn't hooked before I went last year, I was hooked then. I was addicted then. Um, the reason I'm at these high school games now, I give credit where credit is due. There was a high school boys coach. His name is Joe Jackson that made South High School. And then the other coach, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with him because you've seen his team in the tournament. His name is Coach Brian Chadwick.
Uh,
He invited me to the girls' game. And I've gone to boys' game, I've gone to girls' game. And correct me if I'm wrong in this assessment, but it seemed like there is more of a family together culture when it comes to girls' game as opposed to the boys' game. Even with the play on the court, with the boys' game, you tend to see more isolation play, whereas with the girls, you see that ball going around the court, especially even with y'all playing with the shot clock. Thank God for the shot clock. Let me applaud that. But you still see the ball going around. Everybody gets a touch working for that good shot. Is that assessment correct?
Um, I would say yes, because I mean, and it's hard to say yes, it's hard to say no. It's all about your culture. I know our culture at Olathe North is built on toughness and family and togetherness. Even with Missouri Phenom, where we coach club ball, culture is everything. And it's not saying that these boys teams don't have culture, because they do. It's just a little bit different on the girls side, because a lot of what we do, okay, with these young ladies is built on trust. You know what I'm saying? And so um, that trust, if these young ladies trust you, you're able to coach them hard. You know what I'm saying? If I don't have a relationship built with these young ladies the way I coach, I couldn't coach the way I coach, because I have a lot of energy. I coach them pretty hard, but they accept it just because of our relationship. On the boys' side, sometimes you do, you miss the athleticism and how they can just go get a bucket at times, or how they, it's just a little bit different. But, you know, I think you're right by your assessment. And it's just so rewarding when you coach young lady. They just never forget, I've done it long enough now where, girl been gone, young lady been gone for a while, and you're getting, baby shower invitations, wedding invitations, and stuff like that. They just never forget. So I think your assessment is absolutely correct.
All right. Now, I mentioned the name Robert Kelly. He's with Prep Girls Hoop, and I've had him on my show a few times, and he has a lot of insight. And the one thing he wants to know, and then we're going to switch around to club ball. He said you have a couple of girls on your team. I guess they're part of the class. One of the 26 and one is the class of 27. He says he's very interested to know where you think they could end up at. So I guess he's a scout and he has some questions. He's probably watching the show right now. But I told him, I said, I will get that question out to you just to get him his 30 seconds of fame on our show.
Robert, he does a great job. I mean, I think I'd rather do this than do that, because he has to cover the whole state of Kansas, and I think he does about as good a job as they can do.
Yeah.
But he's talking about Asia Lee, my 2026 girl. She'll be a Power Five kid. She's got a lot of offers out there. It's just going to be about what's the right fit for her and what makes sense for her. And then he's talking about our 2028 kid, the Leah Williams, my point guard. She's young yet, and she's got a lot of growth. She's got a chance to be really, really, really special. She's got some intangibles to her that the sky is the limit. And then there's another 2028 kid, Layla Boyd. She's a freak athlete, and like I said, the sky's the limit for her. She just doesn't even know who she is. She's coming into her own. She's so athletic. It's like she kind of just flies around out there. So those two youngsters, they got a little bit of time, so their recruiting process will just now be getting started. So looking forward to having those three kids, just being blessed and lucky enough to have those three kids coming back next year.
And speaking of them being young, because I'm noticing more and more as I scope things on the internet, it seems like these young people, fresh, and I'm talking, when I say young, I'm not talking about they're young, like younger than me, like they're seniors getting ready to come out of high school right now. I'm talking about freshmen, sophomore. When you look across the scope of things, and it amazes me because now I have another assessment, and maybe you can vouch for this as well too. Seem like and I'll say this boldly that Kansas will be a hotbed where Power Five coaches will come, but not for the boys. They're coming for the girls. Is that a true statement? Because that's what I'm
Well,
seeing.
absolutely. Well, absolutely. I mean, you go back to, you know, like when we started at Olathe North, that's when I kind of got on the, I guess you say, got on the scene. You know, when you talk about some of the best girls basketball players, I mean, and I haven't coached all of them, but I've coached and trained, the Jaden Wootens that are at Oklahoma State, Samaya Nichols at KU, Sanaya Copeland that's at KU that played for me as well. Grace Slaughter at Mizzou. You had the Lily Loves. I mean, there's just so much talent. Karen Sides that's at K State, the Glenn twins. So that's kind of when it all started. And now you got even more coming through now. I'm not sure if it's just our turn or what it is or whatnot, but there's so much
Oh, you still there?
to
Okay, all right.
nope,
Yeah,
you got me.
I got you. It's like there was, I don't know, you might hit a dead spot. That's what it sounds like.
You might have hit a dead spot, yeah. But like I was saying, the Samaya Nichols, the SAKU, Jaden Wootens, there's so much talent that has come through here, and now you've gotten even more coming out of Wichita, Topeka, Kansas City, out Western Kansas. There's so much talent, and I think that the travel ball is helping these young ladies get exposure. Of course, the social media, you do a great job of doing that. The Robert Kellys, they do a great job of getting these kids exposure as well. So that also helps in itself.
Absolutely. So now, speaking of travel ball, because
Mm,
that, and I really hate to use this terminology, but I had Craig Nicholson on. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with that guy. He's
uh,
uh, he says with travel ball you get to recruit your players. So
yeah.
that being said, what is the moment like when you have a player on your travel squad team that during the upcoming high school season, you're actually got to play against that person, and you might have two or three of them girls on your team. What is that situation like?
So it's so funny that you asked that question. So you got to remember, I coached and trained Samaya Nichols, and so Samaya Nichols, I only won one game out of five against her in our high school time. and and it's so funny that if you ever talk to her mother, she'll laugh. Me and Samaya would go at it. We talk trash to each other during the game, and she relished on beating me. Jaden Wooten was the same way. Me and myself and Jalea Davis was talking trash, wanting to get to the championship game against each other. She wanted to beat me, and it's just I tell my girls, and my girls laugh at me, but I'm like, y'all. In some of these situations, I think these young ladies want to beat me more than they want to beat Olathe North. So y'all got to come get it. And so uh, it gets real competitive. They want to beat Coach Zoe, and that's how it should be. I teach them to be competitive. So I want you to be even more competitive when you play me. So it gets real fun and real interesting, man. It really does.
All right, now see, since you just said that, and you said some trash talking, how much trash talking do you allow, and how much trash talking do you have to calm down? Because I saw this moment at Coke Arena. It was a moment between Jalea Davis, since you mentioned her name, and Sienna Carter, who plays for Derby. We have a freshman going up against Kansas Gatorade Player of the Year, uh,
Yeah.
Power Five commit. What is the level of trash talk that goes on in a girls' game?
It just depends on who's playing because they get to talking trash. I mean, it's not like the boys' game, girls are a little more mild there, but you get some kids out there that can get to yapping, man, and especially if it's a competitive night where kids are it's a rival night or a big night or something like that. Kids get to talking. I hear them talking trash, man. They get to going, and long as they keep it competitive and clean, I think it's okay. It's when it gets a little disrespectful and stuff like that. But I've never heard it get disrespectful. But Jalea can talk a good game, and thing about it is she can back it up too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure y'all had some epic words back and forth. It's funny because as I was there at Coke Arena, I ran into this guy. I'm looking up like, I know this guy. I went to school with this guy. I went to school with her daddy at Hutchinson Community College. So,
Okay, okay,
but
okay.
since I'm backtracking because I mentioned you said Nick Bradford and connection KU. So is there a connection because Wichita State has a coach by the name of Terry Nooner? So is there like a fraternity amongst you brothers right there?
That's my guy, T Noons. We call him T Noons, Terry Nooner. He was the first coach for Missouri Phenom. And so, there guys, Terry Nooner and I, and we all came up in Kansas City, and we all graduated high school in 1996. So, and then Nick Bradford, we're just good buddies, and they're great men and great coaches, and that's number one is that they're great men and great leaders of these young ladies, and I wish the best for Coach Nooner as he's at Wichita State. But yeah, those are my guys.
All right then. And I mentioned the hotbed for recruiting for women's. Uh, what's the chances now that we start seeing the state three schools start getting some of this Kansas homegrown talent? Because I have a friend we kind of go back and forth, and we're big Wichita State fans. We talk about the guys team, and I'm like, okay, why are we letting these high profile, what I would consider high profile players slip through our fingers, and then when they do come back, it's like they done been journeyman already. So is there the possibility we could start seeing some of these girls stay home quicker than we see some of these guys? Because we noticed Maddie Vickery, she's already committed to K State. I think there's some others
Mhm,
that followed suit. Of course, Jalea Davis going to KU. Um, I
mhm.
mean, that sounds good when you hear home state girls going to home state schools. So, what's the possibility we'll start seeing some of these girls stay home? And does it also have something to do with the program and the prominence of the program and the map that the program is on?
I think it's got something to do with that as well, but I believe, you know, Samaya Nichols going to KU opened up a door and opened up the eye for Jalea Davis to stay at KU, realizing that uh, the home schools do a good job of taking care of the hometown heroes. K State has done a great job of recruiting local kids as well with the Glenn twins and Terrence Sides being a Western Kansas kid and now Maddie Vickery who is committed there early and so hopefully we can get some talent down there to some hometown girls to go down and play for Coach Nooner as well, and then
Yes,
you already
send them.
see it. You already see it in the Division II ranks that these kids stay home and for the Division II. But don't forget about if I'm putting a shout out there for Wichita State. Don't forget there's a little school named Wichita State that does a good job as well. So hopefully that trend is happening and can happen more that these young ladies will stay close to home and become that hometown hero and help that program win games.
And trust me, I put in a plug because I sometimes I get in the ear of some of these players, and uh, I'm not going to mention her name right now because I hope to get her on my show as well too. But all I'm gonna say is she is a sophomore after winning the state title at Class 2A school, transferred to a 5A school, and still dominated. And you probably know what I'm talking about just from saying that
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, absolutely.
so back to the travel side now, because I've asked coaches, what is their difference because you're playing week in, week out, uh, probably at the best 2, 3, 4 games on any given weekend,
Mhm.
and you almost don't have time to rest between one game and the next. So, what is the preparation like for that? Because I know it definitely has to be different in high school. Because in high school, you play a team, and if you got to play a team twice, you can scout, you can game film, you can game plan. What is the mental stress when it comes to the travel club? Because at the end of the day, as a famous coach say, you still play to win the game.
Absolutely. The biggest difference to me is, in high school I get 5 practices a week. We're practicing Monday through Friday, some Saturdays, you know what I'm saying? And we're really preparing for every aspect of the game. When on travel ball side, 2 times a week, maybe, especially when you have like what we have is on the EYBL circuit. You got kids coming from Oklahoma and Iowa and different states, Arkansas. So you're only practicing a couple of times on the weekend. So you're now trying to get everything in 2 or 3 practices to get prepared for the summer. So now you're depending more on the individual talent and the individuals be meshing together. So it's more about, you know, what can you get put in? It's not just about your system now. We got to get out and go get it. You got to play with a lot of energy. You got to play with a lot of enthusiasm. Because you got to be ready for 3 or 4 games in one weekend when you've played more games and practices in the summer. So it's a big difference. And when it comes to preparation, you just got to get out there and go get it. And you know, a lot of people aren't fans of the because it's an up and down game more than what you see at the high school level. But um, I love both, and I think there's strengths and advantages to have to being a part of both. And you know, I don't get a lot of break, but you know, I just remember that we played the third place game and watched our boys play the championship and got home at 9 o'clock and had phenom practice the next morning at 10 o'clock. So, we didn't have much of a break, but that's what we signed up to do.
And just to think that, basketball used to be seasonal. Now basketball is year round. It's like
Right.
there was one player I approached about being on my podcast, and she was like, uh, get back with me at the end of the season. Well, when does the season actually end? So,
Right.
Coach, I got just a few more questions. I'm gonna let you go so you can get about your day. Uh,
Mhm,
so we got the I-35 Hoop Showcase coming up, and
mhm.
I want you to put in a plug and tell people why they should attend that event. That's gonna be in June.
Yeah. We've normally been a part of it. I'm not sure if we are this summer. I haven't really looked completely at the schedule, but it's always been a great event because you have talent from both sides of the state, and you'll get Della Lamb, and you'll get the Mocans and those programs, phenoms. They all come together, and it's a very good Division II coaches event. The Division II coaches are out really recruiting hard, and it's some competitive games because there's those 3 teams are normally on a different circuit, and so they don't normally get to see each other. And this is the time that they get to see each other. It's also the end of June is everybody's leaving their high schools, coming back together for AAU and getting ready for the July live period. So it's always been some really games. I mean, I won the championship last year, or one of our buzzer beater. So it's always big, and really good job of putting that tournament on. Coach Hamilton, they do a really good job of doing what they do. So if you do that you see some good basketball.
All right. Well, Coach, I want to say this has been a blast. Hopefully, next time we can get the video side on your side. Stop acting so weird. I mean, like I say, this technology stuff. This is out of my pay grade. But we
Well,
will
I
get.
tell you what, they might not have wanted to see my face today. I don't know. This might have worked.
Well, I want to wish you all the best of luck, and if you guys are participating, I hope to see you then. Because, like I say, I was blown away by that event last year, and I plan on going back, checking it out again this year because it's a basketball buffet. I mean, I'm like this. You you better not die Anyone that hasn't went better not die until they go see this because it might just keep you out the pearly gates.
Well,
So,
I tell you what, I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, we are in that. I do know that Phenom, we're having an event in Wichita, May 3rd. I'm sorry, yeah, May the weekend of May 3rd. So, there's
okay.
going to be some good basketball in Wichita. So hopefully, we'll see you out there and see some of the folks, some familiar faces.
All right. Well, Coach, you go ahead, get on about your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. You probably got some practices or some counseling lined up because I know as a coach, you still have to put on that counsel hat. Sometimes you never know when a player might just call you about the blue and be like, Coach, and then you got to put the father hat on. So go ahead and enjoy the rest of your
Absolutely.
day and set yourself up to do your thing. All right, Coach. I appreciate you being on.
Appreciate you so much.
All right. Once again, my guest via the phone line, Coach Alonzo Zoe Williams. I had a chance, like I said, I had a chance to see him out at Coke Arena. So we made physical acquaintance. We got to see each other, got to shake hands, take a photo together. Just an outstanding, not just an outstanding coach, but an outstanding human. Really enjoy his spirit, his demeanor. He, I could say it like this. He probably reminds me somewhat of me. I really don't know a stranger until you give me a reason to treat you as a stranger. Uh, just a fantastic guy and had so much to share and found out his perspective of the difference between high school, coaching the high school team, coaching the club team, travel team, AAU team. And you heard what he said. He said a lot of people aren't fond of the up and down game that they play in the AAU. But I thought that's also the reason we got the shot clock to speed up the game because we got tired of seeing a team get out to a 10-point lead and win the game 25-11. Think about that. In essence, you actually love the up and down game. Only thing missing in the up and down game on the travel scene, the AAU scene club. Hey, I gotta say it like that because some people may call it one or the other. But the reason you go out there is because you get to see games that are more up and down as opposed to if you're playing in one of those leagues that don't have a shot clock. It's a break from the norm. You like the up and down game. You want the game to be fast paced. You don't want to see 25-18 scores. That's why you was clamoring for the shot clock. For the last 15, 20 years, we need shot clock in high school in Kansas basketball. Yes, I know you have been hollering for it. You know how I know? Because I've hollered for it and I've heard you hollering for it. Like, we're not here to watch Dean Smith four corner offense. Dean Smith, rest in peace. Dean Smith, legendary coach. But at the end of the day, you got tired at four corners, especially if it was against your team. You want to know what can we do to speed this up? How can we speed this up? Incorporate the shot clock. For some teams, that was just more to their advantage because they play at such a high pace, and it starts on the defensive end. Uh, I'm pretty sure Coach Zook, I would have asked him about the shot clock. I'm pretty sure he would have said he's a proponent for it, and I'm pretty sure that he would agree with this as well too. Why play with the shot clock during the regular season? You're not going to play with the shot clock at the state tournament. To me, now this is me, and I'm pretty sure I echo the sentiments of some others because I've seen your comments. It doesn't make any sense. You've been playing with the shot clock. You got to adjust it to the shot clock, and now the state tournament. Oh, we're not going to play with shot clock. I mean, yes, I knew they said it was going. They said it before the season started. That's how it was going to be. Even at the beginning of the season, when that statement was made, it still didn't make no sense. Only way that made sense is for those lower classifications that didn't have the shot clock. Makes perfect sense. You didn't play with one during the season, why play one now? But you play with it all this season, you got adjusted to it. Now we're going to take away your comfort. It's like saying we're going to take away your comfort zone. Hopefully, the powers that be, Keisha, who's ever in charge on the rules committee, hopefully you do the shot clock during the season and then postseason. It just makes sense, and it's what's best for business. Bottom line. I said I was going to get to some more stuff today, but how can you top having Coach Williams on? You don't. Now I did a show yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to podcast it. Uh, so there will probably be two podcasts being uploaded today in succession. To those who may be watching the live stream, I want to say shout out to you. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you more than words, more than I could put into words. I really appreciate you. Once again, shout out. Very thanks to Coach Zoe. I'm pretty sure the people in Olathe will be glad to hear him, even if he coaches against them. He is a great ambassador for Olathe North and for the league itself. Uh, like I said, there's nothing I can say that would do him any justice, other than the fact that he is just a great man, a great coach, a great ambassador for the game. And you heard him put that shout out for Wichita State. So just like we see KU and K State getting some of these top tier names, like a early commit from a Maddie Victory to K State, the twins he was talking about at K State, uh, the KU commits, the Jalea Davises of the world. I mean, you heard them, and it's just a matter of time before we start seeing those same caliber players show up at Wichita State. I I would like to drop names of some names I would like to see in black and gold, but I don't want to seem like I'm putting pressure on them. Not that what I say can put any pressure on anybody, but there are some I have seen over the last couple of years. I think they would look good in black and gold, and I think they would definitely help be the catalyst, cornerstone that would turn that program around. I'm just gonna say it like this, without even saying her name. She wears 33. The colors that they have is green and white. She stands about 6'1". She's an all Kansas player. Uh, I was chatting with her, and I was like, imagine the players that left y'all school that went to Butler County if they came back along with this such a player, and then you link up with them, and then the following year there's another player who's just killing it. Y'all get the picture. Because I've had the chance to also talk with Coach Scales, and I look forward to having a sit down with Coach Terry Nooner. It's just a matter of time before we get him on here. But I had a chance to talk to Coach Scales, and I asked him, and this was the second year of the installment of the Terry Nooner plan. But I asked him, what do he see? Where does he see Wichita State 5 years? He said, I expect to see us hanging banners in the rafters. So my expectation is, I expect their third year to be a breakout year, which is also going to open the floodgate to some Kansas homegrown talent wanting to say, okay, we're the ones that KU and K State didn't recruit, but we're just as good as the recruits that they picked up. They're going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. And the foundation that I believe is going to be set next year is going to skyrocket in year number 4. So, on that note, Coach Nooner, I'm also rooting for you in the Wichita State program. Shout out to Kevin Saul. Trust the process. Don't rush the process. Yes, I did drop some names, but those names were worthy to be dropped because at some point we're going to see a successful Wichita State women's basketball program, and you got the ones in place to make it happen. Just give it time. Well, on that note, it is time for me to get out of here. Enjoying myself today. Hope those of you who are watching have enjoyed. Understand that sometimes, like I said, technology can be your best friend or it can be your worst enemy. And sometimes it will let you know that sometimes this technology is just out of your pay grade. But nonetheless, I had a great time. Once again, give it up for Coach Alonzo Williams. Robert Kelly, I hope he answered your questions. Hope you had a chance to watch the show. Until the next time, it is the A Train. We pulling back into the station. Be back tomorrow to give you my postseason list awards. Be blessed. Be a blessing. I'm out.